The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you a songwriter? Are you looking to turn your songwriting passion into a full-time gig? Whether you are just at the start of your songwriting journey or a seasoned industry professional, this show is made for you. Welcome to the Songwriter Show, bringing together songwriting news, interviews, and community. Now, welcome your host, Sarantos.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and welcome back to the Songwriter Show. I'm your host, Sarantos. I'm a solo music artist who's been writing lyrics for as long as I can remember. Words are very important to me, and that's why I'm very thrilled to host this show. I believe that every single song is a story. The Songwriter Show is broadcast live on number one ranked W4CY Radio, with listeners in all 206 countries in the world and every state in the United States. The station is also licensed with ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, and Sound Exchange, with partnerships throughout the music industry, including iHeartRadio and exposure to over 300 million listeners.
And now, welcome this week's special guest.
Tonight's first guest is Lisa Bouchelle. Lisa started singing at the ripe old age of 4. She stood out on a picnic table and sang America the Beautiful at a local talent show. Alcoholism took her mother from her, and her father died soon after from complications during a heart operation. Now, all alone in the world, Lisa set her sights on fulfilling her dream, making her father proud. Lisa has sung backup for Bruce Springsteen, duetted in concert with John Bon Jovi on his hit Who Says You Can't Go Home, and toured with and opened for Meatloaf, Blues Traveler, Ingrid Michaelson, Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, America, Bryan Adams, Jason Mraz, Don Felder, the Eagles, the Walters, Kansas Train, and the list goes on and on. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on your show.
You're very welcome. I'm reading your bio, and all I keep thinking is, I'm currently reading the Bruce Springsteen biography. I love that John Bon Jovi song. I love Meatloaf. I love all these bands that you've played with and sung with, and it's just so impressive.
Yeah, I have had really a great time. It's been a lot of adventures, and I've learned a lot from the people I've worked with.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Who's your favorite person you've ever worked with?
Oh, gosh. I can't really say, everybody. I haven't run into barely any people who weren't really nice. I do have more history with some people. I mean, John Popper from Blues Traveler, Blues Traveler was the first actual band I opened for on the road on a big tour. So he is a very cool, became a good friend, and actually we have a single that we recorded recently as a duet. So I've really kept in touch with him, and he's been a great supporter of my career. So he's definitely one of the illustrious people that I've worked with.
Wonderful. Tell me a little bit about your songwriting process. Where do you start typically?
I usually it usually just comes to me like a concept. It isn't always the chorus, maybe just a topic. And I often get some of the melody first, and then I grab my guitar, and then just everything kind of flows and comes together. I think kind of together with the guitar and the vocal, usually that's how it comes out. Although my most current song that I'm working on right now in the studio, I wrote kind of just lyrics as a poem. I know you're a lyricist, so it kind of just, I thought maybe it would stay just as a poem, but being a musician, it ended up turning into a song, and it's actually one of my favorites right now. It's called I Believe, so you never know.
Okay, so is guitar your main instrument then?
Yeah, guitar is my main instrument. I also play bass on the side, just in some side projects, girl band, a couple other projects. But acoustic guitar is definitely my main instrument.
Okay, so do you ever have a challenge with Bruce Springsteen up on stage? You're going at your guitar, and you guys are vibing off each other?
Mostly when I've worked with Bruce, it's all been vocal stuff.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you started at the age of 4. Tell us a little bit about where you went from there. you started singing? Did you start taking lessons sometime after that, or how did it work out?
Yeah, I started singing at 4, and, like my family wasn't totally on board. My parents weren't totally, they were supportive of me, but I think like my grandmother was just really concerned with the music business and child actresses and, musicians. And it definitely is a challenging lifestyle, but it was like, there was just no stopping me. I had my heart set on it. And so when I didn't really play a lot of music in school. I did play flute, and I ended up in the band, but I think that's just because I have like a lot of musical talent. It certainly wasn't because I was like applying myself on flute, but I just, did a lot of band stuff outside of school, taking guitar lessons. And my dad said, you probably should take lessons on some type of instrument like guitar that you could accompany yourself. So I started that when I was about, I'd say like 13, and that's about the time I started writing songs. I didn't have any contacts in the music business or anything. I just kept on working at it till I met the right people.
Yeah, that's I totally get that. So it sounds like you've struck a chord with me, because there's this inherent bias I think all people have. If you tell them, growing up, I want to be a rock star or a singer or anything like that, they're kind of like, red alert. Like, they all want you to be like a scientist or a doctor or a lawyer, which I think that's so sad. And it sounds like that happened to you too. But isn't that kind of crazy that people don't respect the arts, I think, as much as they should?
I definitely think it's crazy. However, I think in the rock and roll business, there's arts as a wide, broad spectrum, and I think the rock and roll business or Hollywood in terms of acting and stuff, that's like that's not Broadway. That's the hardcore, and it is. There's a wild surrounding around you, and you have to kind of watch out not to fall into the wrong thing. And I think that was their concern,
Yeah, I get it. I usually ask every guest on the show, and I'll ask you at this point too, is warn us about some scam that you've fallen for. We all try to protect each other because there are just so many scams out there. Tell us something that happened to you or something you heard about that you want to warn us about.
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know that a lot has happened to me in terms of it, because I've been stiffed for money at bars, but not often. I'm pretty feisty at the end of the night, and usually I end up getting my money back in the day when that would happen. I'm not as nice as I look when I'm not getting paid. Yeah. I can spend. But otherwise, I'm pretty nice. But I actually started working with a management company. It took me a long time, probably like the second album that I put out on my own, before I even met the right people. But they kind of helped me steer clear of certain things that were not on the up and up, and I learned a lot from them, and they helped me a lot to learn. But I think, I guess one thing I would say is, I don't know if it's necessarily a scam. I think people need to realize that this competitive thing in music, these shows where, I've never watched one because it's against what I believe, but I just think these competitive, music shows that make it look like, if you go on there and someone criticizes you, you start crying, you think my dream is gone. That's complete BS. And, if Neil Young went on one of those shows and sang, he would be immediately disqualified. Music is subjective, then you have to just, believe in your art and go with it, and don't listen to what one person says, because, it may touch someone else completely to their heart, and you just have to believe in yourself and not go that route. That's my advice to everybody out there.
Yeah, that's great advice. Never give up. I read something interesting, whether it's Meryl Streep, whether it's famous musicians, people, they show like, hey, here's the 80 rejection letters I got, and then they became superstars. Meryl Streep, I remember I saw it on social media like last year. It was amazing to me. People telling her she's ugly, she'll never make it, and one of the best actresses of our time. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's what it says. It touches someone else's heart and her acting, and someone, is like, oh my God, she's the most beautiful actress. She's, it depends. It's subjective, and that's what art is all about. Sports can be competitive and measured in metrics, but these types of contests and things that try to turn music into that, music is not sports. It's different. It's subjective. It's art.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think those shows do take advantage of artists too. I read like the Voice contract that I got my hands on, and I would never sign that thing in a million years, and it's just kind of crazy.
Yeah, Yeah.
So tell me, what's the typical week like for you?
Busy and different every week. That's what makes it so much fun for me. I mean, right now we're in the studio working on some new music. Like I said that I'm working on. We also have some meetings for my TV show, Rockstar Kitchen, that I host. We bring on famous people and they bring recipes and we cook and play music. And, so I'm working on all that type of stuff. And I have some local performances coming up, whereas, last month I was touring. I had done a tour over the summer even that was 5 weeks, 27 cities in 5 weeks. So that was like a whirlwind, and that was a United States tour. So I was pretty much East Coast as far as Nashville and Buffalo. But so it depends. Each week is so different. But I will tell you this. I remember starting to do this, and my mother would say to me, just pick one thing a day to do towards your music. And it was such good advice because you don't know where to start. And I did. And now I try to find one thing a day that isn't towards my music. And sometimes it's hard to, besides working out, it's hard to find the time to do much else but work. But I love what I do. So it's busy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know you had this cooking show. That's awesome. I'm Greek and I grew up in the restaurant business. So
cool.
Cooking is very. So you have a cooking show and you play music during it or at the end of it, or?
Yeah. Well, I had this concept that cooking and music show that we would have. Yeah, we have famous people come on, and then they bring. My prerequisite is that they bring a recipe that means something to them, either something they grew up with, or some are vegan stuff they found on the road, and then we make the dish. And when it's in the oven cooking, then we sit and we play music, but it's say I have Foreigner on there, or Bowling for Soup, or, it's songs you hear totally full production. But when we sit at the kitchen table and we do our interviews and then we play these songs acoustic, and I get to play with the artists and sing, and it's just really, really fun and a different take on everything, so it's cool.
That's a great concept. Wow. That's really cool.
It's called Rockstar Kitchen.
Rockstar Kitchen.
Check it out.
What show is it on? What channel is it on?
It's Comcast Network, so it would be TCN, standing for the Comcast Network, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely got to check it out.
Yeah, it's Tuesdays at 5:30, Sundays at 8. So, yeah, check it out, and I can send you some more info, but let me know what you think as a food person. You have experience.
I grew up in the restaurant business. I've cooked everything you can imagine. I've been dishwasher, waiter, cook, everything. So
that's so cool. I love that.
Yeah. All right. Tell me a little bit about your role model. Who's your number one role model, if you could pick one?
Oh, I don't know that I can pick one role model. I probably, there's a couple of people in there, probably, professionally or personally, probably personally, starts you no matter what you're going for professionally. So I'd have to say, growing up with my dad, he was a great role model, just a work ethic like you couldn't believe, honest. And one of my current management team, Hal Selzer, he's an amazing individual. He very good work ethic, an honest person. That's very hard to find in the music business. And I think he has been a great mentor to me and kept me going through tough times. I have, role models as far as musicians. Like I mentioned, Neil Young. He's just amazing, long career, staying true to himself. Bruce Springsteen, the type of person that'll go for more the art than worrying about, definitely the production or worrying about making money. He has plenty of success financially, but I think he's always been true to keeping it about the art. So I have a lot of role models. Stevie Nicks has been someone musically that I always loved, and gosh, there's so many. I don't know that I could, politically, there's just different role models. And I think when you're a musician that's a writer like yourself, like me, it's not just the music, it's the world and, what you see around you that inspires you to write. So there's role models in a lot of different categories.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me what you were like in high school.
What I was like in high school?
Yeah.
That was well, I did not fit in school. I did not fit in school at all. I just would not dance to the beat of anyone else's drum, and it didn't matter if that meant people thought I was crazy or weird. I actually I didn't. I was out in Arizona for the end of my high school career because my parents were not doing well. And it's like a sad story. I won't get into all that. But so, yeah, I mean, I think I just, I was actually in the gifted program. So I apparently had the smarts, but I don't know that I applied myself academically. Now I love to learn, but I think it just hit me later, you know, that I just thirst for knowledge. Yeah, you know, I don't think I embraced it when I had the chance in school. I didn't go to college because I went right into my music career. So that's something that I wonder, you know, how that would have been. But I don't know. I think I was just preoccupied with getting out of there.
Yeah, and hey, we all learn at our at our own pace, you know.
Yeah.
What? Where can our listeners find out more information about you, and where can they purchase your music?
Oh, if you go to lisabouchelle.com, which is LISABOUCHELLE.com, you can purchase the music or any of the swag, T-shirts, hats, anything. Check out the videos, the TV show, and it also connects to all my social media. So our website is something we spent a lot of time on, so that will navigate you can navigate it easily if you're looking for something.
Okay, Lisa. Tell us a little bit about the song that we're going to listen to in 2 minutes here. What inspired it?
Are you only the tequila talking? Is that what we're going to play?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this was a fun song. I recorded this one. I wrote it with a friend of mine, John Eddy, and I came up with this hook. It was only the tequila talking, should have took it with a grain of salt. And I thought, oh, my gosh, that sounds like something my friend John Eddy would write. He's in Nashville, he writes for Kid Rock and stuff. So I called him, and I said, listen to this hook. He said, I can't believe I didn't write that. It's so funny. So I said, let's write the rest. I'm sorry if I didn't. So let's write the rest of the song together. So we got together, and we just started trading lines. There's even like a little dig in the, in the second verse that kind of was something snarky I wrote back to rhyme to some brilliant lyric that he came up with. And we actually just had a really good time writing it. And I called John Popper from Blues Traveler, and I said, hey, I have a really fun song about tequila. Do you want to record it with me? So he's totally down with that, and I recorded it in Seattle, most of it, and he sang it with me as a duet, and his drummer played on it, Brendan from Blues Traveler, and we also had Ernie White, Tom Rioch, some people back here, Halby Seltzer from back in this area that actually played on it as well. So, yeah, it's just a really fun song. We did a video for it. It's reached over 2 million streams on Spotify, and 100,000 views over that, I think, on for the video on YouTube. So check out the video, and thanks to everybody who's been streaming it.
We definitely will. So is tequila your favorite drink then?
I like it, for better and worse.
All right, Lisa. That's wonderful. Thank you for being on the show, and now we're going to listen to your song.
Thank you so much.
All right, have a great night.
I bit my tongue cause she was somewhat young, and I wanted to feel young again. That little sweet talker could have been a streetwalker. She was hotter than Georgia asphalt. It was only the tequila talking, should have took it with a grain of salt. God, you're so beautiful.
Boy, you're just my type.
I could really fall for you.
Don't think I can drive home tonight. So will you be a gentleman?
Will you care if I don't call?
It was just the tequila
a song. Coyote ugly on the spectra vision in the not so super rays.
He said the sex would be amazing, but it really wasn't that great.
Blame it on the lies we told, blame it on the alcohol. It was only the tequila talking, should've took it with a grain of salt. God, you're so beautiful.
Oh, you know you're just my type.
I couldn't really fall for you.
Don't think I can drive home tonight. So will you be a gentleman?
Will you care if I don't call?
Oh,
It's just the tequila talking. Let's take it with a grain of salt. It's just the tequila talking. Let's take it with a grain of salt.
And now, welcome this week's special guest.
Our second guest tonight is Meghan Cary. Meghan is a critically acclaimed artist, and she's earned Billboard Magazine Esteemed Critic Choice Award, and the title track of her latest album, Sing Louder, debuted on the U.S. International Folk DJ chart at number 2. Cary didn't mean to be a musician, but when her fiancé unexpectedly died, she picked up his guitar, figured out how to play it, and wrote her debut song. Welcome to the show, Meghan.
Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing so well. I'm
Yeah.
inside where it's warm, so
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm in Chicago, and the weather's been fun the last couple of days. So I hear you.
Oh yeah, we've been having wind like Chicago today, so I was feeling you.
It's something that people on the West Coast don't appreciate, right? We get to have all 4 seasons.
Right, that's right. I went to school in Florida for a while for my grad school, and I didn't have those seasons. I really missed them, so I shouldn't complain when I get winter.
That's very true. So you have a very interesting story. Tell me a little bit about what made you be exactly where you are today.
Okay. Well, I'll try to put it in a little elevator pitch. I was actually went to school to Duke University to be. I was pre-med. I was always going to be a biomedical engineer. Like that was my plan. And one thing led to another, and I came out with a drama degree from school. And I was like, okay. Well, I had a second in chemistry though, so and I went on to go to conservatory down in Florida for acting, and because I really didn't know anything about acting, but I knew that I wanted to be on the stage. So that's what I went to New York City to, had a really great time. I had a wonderful acting career, and did a lot of TV commercials, voiceovers, and on-camera stuff. And it was when I was in New York that I was doing a musical actually called Pump Boys and Dinettes, which is a very fun country musical. And that song that we just heard would have totally fit in there. It's just the tequila talking. Anyway, I was doing that, and I met a musician who was in the show with me, Matthew Black, and we fell in love and were engaged to be married. And he passed away suddenly. So I made music with him when. He had bar gigs and things and played all the cover tunes that you like to cry in your beer over and stuff. So I used to sing the harmony to the chorus with him. And when he passed away, I figured the one thing that I could keep would be the music. So I picked up his guitar and figured out how to play a few things. And I didn't know any songs all the way through, so I just started writing them. And that's how I went from being a total science geek to being a singer-songwriter.
That's fascinating. Yeah, that's a great story. What's your fondest musical memory growing up?
But growing up, my fondest musical memory, oh my gosh, it has to be making music. I'm much more of a music maker and singer with folks than I am a listener. If I'm listening, I want to be singing along. So probably my fondest memory was, this is going to be funny, but when I grew up in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and I used to go to Hershey Park and watch the shows that they did at Hershey Park. And I when I was little, and I was like, one day I want to do that. I'm going to be a biomedical engineer, but I'm going to do that too. So anyway, when I shifted into this whole theater thing, I decided to audition to perform at Hershey Park. And it was my first time I'd ever done anything like this. And I had to sing and I had to dance. And I was auditioning with all these people that I didn't know. And it was really, I'd never felt that energy that you feel when you're auditioning for something. And I kept they were cutting people out, and I kept being there. And then I was one of two last people there, and I booked the job, and I had my first ever job performing at Hershey Park. It was my first ever job performing music, and that moment was just an incredible high because I'd never experienced anything like that.
So I'm going to burst your bubble now. I've actually been to Hershey, and it's an park. I have. So if you ever go back there and perform, I'm going to join you there. That's a great park. It's been like 6-7 years, but I've definitely been there, and I thought it was a great place.
Yeah, it is. It's clean and wholesome, and and working there was awesome. I mean, we did 5 shows a day, 6 days a week in the blazing heat, so that was kind of troublesome. But it was it was a great summer, and go. Especially, do you like roller coasters?
I do. I don't like them as much as I did when I was a teenager, but I definitely do.
Yeah, I'm finding that I'm starting to fade a little bit, but I love roller coasters, and I love anything that like spins me around and up and down. I just the whole thing. I love it.
The spinning stuff. I hate the stuff that just goes round and round. I'm not a fan of that. I want a cool roller coaster, but I can't spin around.
So you like the hills and not the spinning. Hey, it's everybody's got their thing. Everyone's got their thing.
How often do you write or make a song? Once a week, once a month, just roughly?
Probably more like once a month. I went through I took a year and did writing a song a week, and it was really great. But I couldn't keep that up. So I write about a song a month. I have 2 kids. That's my excuse.
I've done it both ways. I've done it where I'm writing like I can't turn off like 5 songs, 10 songs a day, and then I won't write for 3 weeks. I don't think you should ever feel pressured to. Some people say, "Oh, you got to write when you wake up. Write for an hour." I don't think you have to. I think you just gotta do what feels right. I don't agree with any of that stuff.
Right, and I think one of the things that it took me a while to learn, because when I first started writing, it was right after Matthew had died, and I was doing. People kept handing me roles at every theater I'd ever worked in. Handed me a role to do to get through this hard time, and so when you're doing a play, you are rehearsing during the day, and then you have nothing during the evening. And then once the show's up, you have your day completely free, and then you have your shows at night. So I had these days free, and I would go hiking into the mountains and just walk, and these songs would just show up, and so I was writing all the time. And then as my life moved from there, and I got married, and I became a mom, and all of a sudden there was so much other stuff in my life, and I was like, well, what, I don't have this time to just get quiet and write, so I'll never be able to write again. And the truth is that you can write in the little spaces. I mean, I find myself writing in the kitchen with like a little notepad beside me as I'm getting, lunches ready for the kids for school or whatever. It's not glamorous at all, but it's just like catching it when it comes. And then I have to find time to sit down and sort of mull it over and glue it all together and make a song. And then luckily I have a fabulous group called the Philly Songwriters Circle that meets once a month, and I can throw a song at them and they'll give me feedback. So it's kind of immediate. It's a wonderful little process. So
yeah, it's great when you have people you can bounce stuff off of.
Yeah. Do you have that?
You know what? Over the years, this is my 5th year officially doing this, and there's certain people I can bounce things off of here and there, but I have a sickness where I just have so much material, and for me, it's really hard because in the beginning I thought, okay, I was inspired, I wrote this. And then in the last 2 years, I've learned it's all about editing. Like, just because you're inspired and you put out these lyrics and this music doesn't mean that's your finished product. But it's hard. It's hard to trust people because we all value advice, but some of that advice is, isn't modern stuff. Some of it is older. Some of it. And at the end of the day, you got to listen to everybody, but you got to make a decision. So it's tough. Yeah,
it is. You have to know how to listen and hear what's going to work and not. The Songwriter Circle is great because everybody kind of offers their thing, and sometimes there's a bunch of people there, so you may get 3 different opinions about the same line or stanza and or the hook even, and you so you understand that none of them is any more right than what I have written down here right now, but these are just other options, and so it's, you have to find people that you feel are gonna be gentle with your babies, because they kind of are like little babies until you get out there performing them, I think.
Yeah, and I've learned to let go too. In the beginning, I remember my very first music video, I must have spent about 400 hours editing it, and then you kind of learn to not be so obsessed about it and just let it fly into the world and then just move on to the next project. It's tough. I see both sides of it. Tell me, what's the hidden superpower that you have that nobody knows about?
The hidden superpower that I have. Oh my gosh, that's great. The first thing I thought of was multitasking, but that's a lie, because really multitasking isn't real. So I'd say my hidden superpower is being able to not take things personally. And I think it's like, because I spent so long in theater going and then in commercials where I would audition 6 times a day and book something maybe once a month that would pay my bills for the year, So yeah. I had to be turned down all the time. I mean, the answer was no over and over and over again. And sometimes, most of the time, it was just you walked in, you did your thing, and you left, and you never really never heard back, so you knew you didn't book that job. But sometimes people just, sometimes the producers really were not really. Their EQ was pretty low, and they didn't quite get that they shouldn't be saying the things that they did. So sometimes people would respond, "Oh my God, oh well, no, that's not what I meant." Like, ooh, and you just have to go, okay, well, this is them trying to get what they want. It has nothing to do with me being valid or not as an artist. And, so I think one of my superpowers is that I don't get hung up on what other people think of what I'm doing.
It's a great superpower. More people should have that.
Yeah, it's really, we're all enough. That's all. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say on that. We're all enough.
Do you feel that because of your background in performing in the theater, do you feel like it gives you an edge, when you're out there singing, playing the guitar on stage?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm a coach for people. I coach performance and songwriting, but I just finished coaching a 4-week workshop with performers, from people who are just wanting to get out into open mics to people who've been on the stage for years, and just working with them to try to hone their stage thing and help them really connect with the audience. And I'm always amazed by people that just how it takes a lot to be comfortable on stage. And I love being on stage. I love being on stage. I love connecting with the audience, and I know that's because I've done it. I did it so much in so many different roles that weren't me. So there wasn't nearly as much on the line. And I got to learn that, oh yeah, they're not out to get me. Those folks out there, they want to hear what I have to say. They want to go for the ride. So, and I learned that without having to put myself on the line, because I was playing all these different roles. And so then when it came to putting my own music out there and putting my own story out there, I already had a confidence in the audience that they were there because they chose to come out and be entertained and take this ride. And so, yeah, I definitely feel like it helps me a lot on stage.
Sure. So tell me what the craziest thing a boss has ever asked you to do.
The craziest thing a boss has ever asked me to do. Okay, so this is a very difficult question because I have worked for myself for so long. So I really have. I never worked in an office. I worked in an office one day as a temp, and I left at lunch and I went outside where it was warm because it was like the middle of the summer. So it was freezing inside with the air conditioning. And I went outside and I called my mom in tears. I said, I can't do this. What are people doing when they're in these offices? They're not doing anything. So the craziest thing maybe that a boss ever asked me to do was absolutely nothing. I was there and I kept asking them, I said, well, what can I do? And they're like, well, there's nothing. And then I'd ask someone else, is there anything I can do? No, nothing. So I just sat at a desk and did nothing for an entire day, and it was horrific. So maybe that's the worst. The craziest thing that a boss has ever asked me to do is absolutely nothing.
So you don't like just sitting there collecting money for doing nothing, huh?
No, I really didn't. You would think that it would be okay, but it was just, and I saw people around me doing stuff, and I was like, I can do stuff. And this was before social media, so I couldn't go on the computer in front of me and just check Facebook, or I couldn't. There was nothing to even busy myself with. And I didn't bring a book because I didn't. I thought I was working, and I guess I probably should have written a song, but I think this was at the time, it was before I even started writing music. It was when I was solely an actor in New York. So that's probably I did have somebody want me to dress up in a costume and hand out those cards at Times Square.
Oh, yeah.
I was supposed to dress up like a carrot or something ridiculous like that. I was like, I'm really not going to do that. So I didn't. I just said no. Sometimes you just have to say no, Sam.
That's right. Maybe someone would have sat there and taken a picture of you in Times Square as a carrot or whatever.
As a carrot, I would have been the famous carrot from Times Square. Me and the guy in his underwear playing the guitar. Cowboy.
Yeah. So, Meghan, where can our listeners find out more information about you and buy your music?
You can go to meghancary.com, and my name is Meghan with an H, Meghan, and Cary is Cary, like Cary Grant. So meghancary.com, and I'm on on iTunes and CD Baby and all those things like that. But if you go to my website, then you can see all sorts of videos and listen to stuff, and even sign up for my mailing list so that if I come to your town, I can meet you in person, which would be my favorite thing to do. Sorry about that, my kid.
It's all right. All right, Cary. I love your raw honesty and your energy. So tell us about this song that we're going to listen to now.
Okay, this song, we're going to listen to Responsibility. And I wrote this song. I started writing this song when I was living in New York City, and I now live outside of Philadelphia. But I moved there from a small town, so I'd never experienced the homeless situation in our country, and it was almost overwhelming to me as a small town girl walking around the streets and seeing all these people on the street, and I didn't feel like it seemed like such a big thing, and I didn't feel like I could do anything to make a difference, and it was really distressing. And then I was reminded by someone that we as humans are hardwired to connect. I mean, that's what we're doing here, right? This is why you do this show. This is why people are tuned in. We're hardwired to connect with people and with people's stories and listen and touch each other even. And so when I realized that I could make a difference by actually just simply looking someone in the eye and asking them how they're doing, or giving them a God bless or a smile, or I didn't have to give them $5 if I didn't have it. I could just give them, acknowledge that they're there and they're human. And so this song came out of is the journey of that realization, and realizing that we as humans have to do this, and it's more than just makes a difference. It's actually our responsibility.
That's very well said and well spoken. All right, Meghan, we're going to hear your song right now. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
She's poor, but she's honest. She begs, but she don't steal. And she offers me a blessing in exchange for her next meal. She must know what I'm thinking, words that I don't say. If I don't acknowledge you, perhaps you'll go away. I'll go away. Oh, she'd go away. I see him on my corner, cardboard for his bed, and he holds a conversation with the voices in his head. I'd like to think he has a home, family somewhere, but I pass him every day, pretend that he's not there, that he's not there. I wish he wasn't there. Where do I go with this responsibility? Who do I turn to set my conscience free? How can your eyes touch a perfect stranger? The burden of your life, does it really rest on me? This responsibility, or does it really rest on me? This responsibility. She holds a baby to her breast, her hand reaches to me. She asks not for herself, but for her hungry family. And I lose her voice so easily within the city sounds, but the cooing of a baby makes me stop and turn around. I turn around, and thank God I turn around. But now, where do I go with this responsibility? Who do I turn to set my conscience free? How can your eyes touch a perfect stranger? For the burden of your life, does it really rest on me? This responsibility, does it really rest on me? I believe it rests on me. This responsibility, I believe it rests on me. This responsibility. I believe it rests on me. 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 This responsibility. I believe it rests on me. I believe it rests on me.
Those are two wonderful songs. I want to thank Meghan and Lisa for being on the show tonight. I hope you all had a wonderful Tuesday and you're staying warm, especially in the Midwest and the East Coast. This week I released a surprise instrumental CD. They're sleep instrumentals. They have no lyrics or words for them. And at the end of the year, I always like to release my CD that has the 11 songs that were released throughout every month throughout the year. But I also like to surprise fans with a special CD. The first one was a Christmas CD. I've done movie instrumentals, solo instrumentals. This year was a sleep instrumental CD, because I think there's nothing more tortured than not being able to fall asleep. So I hope you enjoy these 11 songs. They're meant to put you to sleep. And here's a snippet of one tonight. Enjoy.
Thank you for listening to The Songwriter Show. To keep the momentum going, head over to www.songwritershow.com and join our free music community of artists, songwriters, and producers. That's www.songwritershow.com.